All right, let's dive right in. We're going to be talking about something that has absolutely taken the world by storm, generative AI. You know, it often feels like straight up magic, right? But today, we're going to pull back the curtain and actually look inside the machine to see how it all works.
And really, it all boils down to this one kind of profound question. What if a computer could actually imagine? I mean, we're used to computers that calculate and analyze, right? But what if one could create? That single idea is the key that unlocks this whole new world we're exploring.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll cover what makes this a new kind of AI. Then we'll peek inside the AI's mind. After that, we'll look at the AI revolution at work, weigh the promise and the peril, and finally, look ahead to our co-creative future. Let's get started.
All right, Section 1, a new kind of AI, more than just analysis. And this is so important because we're not just talking about a small upgrade here. This is a whole new ball game.
Okay, so this really lays it all out. On the one hand, you've got your traditional AI, and it's fantastic at what it does, right? It analyzes and classifies stuff that's already there, like sorting your spam folder or predicting sales figures. But generative AI, it's on a whole other level. It doesn't just analyze, it creates. It makes brand new stuff. Poems, pictures, music, things that literally did not exist before you asked for them.
And you got to understand this didn't just happen overnight. There's a whole history here. Back in the 90s, it was all about basic classification. Then in the 2010s, we got machine learning that could make predictions. But the real explosion, the thing that changed everything, was the arrival of these huge foundation models. That's what took this from a niche, lab-based thing and put it directly into our hands.
Okay, let's jump into part 2, inside the AI's mind. So how in the world does a machine learn to create? It feels like magic, but trust me, it's all about a really, really big and clever learning process. So the engine behind all of this is what's called a foundation model. Seriously, the best way to picture it is like a giant all-purpose brain. It's been trained by basically consuming a massive chunk of the internet, books, articles, websites, you name it. And by doing that, it starts to understand not just words, but the relationships and patterns that connect all human knowledge. And here's the perfect way to think about it. It's like learning the rules of grammar for every language at once, before you're ever asked to write a single poem. It's not learning one task. It's learning the fundamental structure of information itself. And once it has that deep understanding, then you can ask it to do something specific, like, hey, write me a song. So how does this training actually happen? Well, it's basically a two-step process. First, you have pre-training. Think of this like getting a broad general education. It's learning about everything from history to science by reading that huge data set. But then comes the second part, fine-tuning. This is like specializing. You take that generally smart model and you train it on a very specific set of data to make it an expert in one thing, like writing code or understanding medical terminology. All right, so we've got a handle on the how. Now for the really exciting part, Section 3, the AI revolution at work. What can this stuff actually do? Because this is where the theory hits the road, and it's changing, pretty much everything.
And we're not talking about small things here. The applications are huge. For software developers, it's not just fixing bugs, it's generating entire chunks of working code from a simple sentence. For scientists, it's speeding up drug discovery in ways we couldn't imagine. For designers, it's whipping up new logos or product concepts. I mean, this is happening right now, in the real world. And maybe the craziest part is how easy it is to use. You interact with it just by talking to it, by writing a prompt like this one. You don't need to be a programmer, you just need an idea. You describe what you want in plain English, and the AI just brings it to life. It translates your imagination into reality. Okay, but with any technology this powerful, you have to be realistic. We have to look at both sides of the coin. So for Section 4, we're talking about the promise and the peril. Because for all the amazing opportunities, there are some pretty significant challenges we absolutely have to talk about.
So, let's break it down. The promise? Well, it's an incredible tool for boosting creativity. It helps us come up with new ideas. It massively increases efficiency by automating all sorts of tasks. And it makes powerful tools accessible to everyone, not just experts. But there's the peril. These things can hallucinate, meaning they can confidently state things that are just flat out wrong. They can also pick up and even amplify the biases found in their training data. And of course, there are huge questions about data privacy and how all our information is being used. And that's not the only trade-off. There's a big one that we can't ignore, the environmental cost. We get this massive boost in productivity, which is fantastic,
But training these huge models takes an incredible amount of computing power, which in turn uses a staggering amount of energy. So we're left with this really tough question of how to balance progress with sustainability.
So that brings us to our final and maybe most important section, our co-creative future. Where do we go from here? What does all this actually mean for us? Because it's looking less and less like a humans versus machine story and a lot more like a humans with machines story.
This really paints a picture of the new collaborative workflow. It's a loop. The human starts it off with a goal, a creative spark. The AI then does the heavy lifting, right? It generates the first drafts, the raw code, a bunch of ideas. Then it comes back to the human, who refines, edits, and adds that critical final touch. The end result? Something that's created faster, with more options than ever before.
And that leaves us with this final, really important thought to chew on. The question isn't, will AI replace you? The real question is, will a person using AI replace you? And that kind of flips the whole conversation on its head, doesn't it? It suggests the challenge isn't the tech itself, but how ready we are to adapt and work with it. The question is, are you ready?